Hello and welcome back to Bump Love. As we continue this conversation of ending HIV/AIDS by 2030, Uganda has made significant strides in reducing the transmission of HIV from mothers to babies. We've come from 30% to a paltry 2.8%, and congratulations to Uganda. However, it's been seen that the 2.8% has a huge number of new cases for young children still getting HIV/AIDS from their mothers, especially during pregnancy and breastfeeding. This is something that we should have stopped, and we only have 7 years to bring to a complete 0%. With us on the show today is Hilda, Dr. Hilda Asiimwe, who works as a program management specialist at USAID. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
You're looking lovely. I think USAID is just employing
I've learned from the best. Surrounded by gorgeous ladies.
Oh,
yeah, so happy to be here.
Thank you so much.
I'm so proud of all of you. Thank you for the work that you're helping us champion
Thank
in the prevention of mother-to-child transmission.
There's this thing that we hear, Bump Lovers. Actually, if you have a notebook, this is the show where you get your notebook, because whenever a conversation of mother-to-child transmission comes up, every Bump Lover should have the lingo, because we need to end it, HIV by 2030. So there's this thing we keep seeing, all of us as Bump Lovers, this PMTCT. Please tell us about it.
Okay, thank you very much. I think you're taking the direction that I would want each of us to have discussions around as far as HIV is concerned. And PMTCT actually stands for Prevention of Mother-to-Child Transmission of HIV. Like you rightly mentioned earlier, we are still seeing a lot of infections among the children. Actually, according to our current statistics, about 90% of the infections which happen in children now who are less than 10 years happen through mother-to-child transmission. Oh, wow. So it's very, very critical for us to be able to address this issue because we'd want to have a lasting impression in these children. Yeah. I think you've all shared about the stories you've had as mothers. And as a mother, you know how heartbreaking it can be for you to give birth to a child who's going to be sick for the rest of their lives.
And to think that you're the one who could have stopped it, but you didn't, and now your child is sick for life.
Exactly.
That's
painful. So prevention of mother-child transmission is indeed very, very critical. And it would be a good place to have every mother stand up to make a decision to stop transmission to their unborn child if they know their HIV status and if it's positive.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe can I just slip in a question? I think while we were talking earlier, what became very clear was, and we talked about this on the previous show, that we have more younger girls who are, getting HIV infected, but also now are susceptible to getting pregnant, and they probably don't have this information that, when you test positive, it's important for you to, seek medical help. So maybe speak to that a bit, that more of the younger girls are getting pregnant, and they are at a risk of contracting HIV.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for that question. And you're very right. We are having a population now at the moment that is largely young adolescent girls and young women who are getting sexually active very early. And because of that, they are exposed due to different factors requiring HIV. And so at the moment, because we have a youth bulge, as we usually call it in our medical world at the moment, it is paramount that we now work harder than ever actually, for us to make sure that our young girls are equipped with the right information so that as they go through school, for those who are in school, they're able to make the right decisions about their sexual and reproductive health. And then for those who are actually not in school, for us to be able to work with communities through community-led organizations to have messages reached out to that young population in relation to
when you say community-led,
prevention.
all of a sudden, people are like community-led. Just kind of like break it down.
Okay, so when I talk about community-led organizations, I'm referring to organizations that are really at the grassroots of our communities. So these will involve communities like community-based organizations. Some of them are in our communities targeting orphans and vulnerable children. Some of these are organizations at the grassroots that are working with people living with HIV, and those have been very, very instrumental in our journey, actually up to date as far as ending the HIV agenda in Uganda is concerned. So we have various community grassroots
and they're there. We see them as we are driving, as you're walking on your border, you see them there around.
Yes.
Okay.
So for those children who are out of school and out in the communities, having these community-based organizations work closely and make sure that even for the health facilities that are close to them, working together to make sure that they are able to have outreaches or times when they go out of the health facilities to do HIV community awareness in the community and testing in the community so that adolescent girls and young women can be tested and know their HIV status.
So even us, even me as a mom, we'll go to that CBO and say, but you're not talking to our girls. Hey, come, tell our girls. Because you can't talk as a mom.
So you're asking someone else to do it for you.
Why now? Like, why the sudden interest in having conversations? And I know you've tackled a bit about it, especially to do with the increasing prevalence of new infections and stuff in young girls. But why the sudden interest in having conversations related to prevention of mother-to-child transmissions? Like, my question is, like, why now? Why are we sitting here today? Why not last year? Or why not 2 years ago?
Or next year.
Because 2030 is 7 years from now.
Just 7 years from now, So thank you for that great question. And I'll want to put it very clearly that I think now is the best time to do what we are doing. Like we had indicated earlier, we are still having about 5,500 children being born while they're infected with HIV. And that's a large number, my dear. 5,500, imagine one baby in one household, and you multiply that by 5,500. That's a large number. So with all the work that we've been doing over the last years, we still feel that there's still work to do, and we're not yet there. And so we wanted to use the World AIDS Day and the momentum that we have around knowing your HIV status to remind ourselves about the critical component around preventing mother-to-child transmission. So according to the current statistics, we have about 50% of mothers who are passing on HIV from themselves to the infants happening during pregnancy, during the pregnancy period. And those mothers are the ones who have fallen off treatment. So we're actually having HIV positive mothers starting treatment. But of those who are starting treatment, we're having a number of them, 50% are dropping off their treatment. And that's the largest window that we're having to have transmission from the mother to the unborn child. And then secondly, we're also seeing some rising statistics to the numbers who were originally negative. So a young woman comes in and she's HIV negative, and we're all happy about it, that she's made it to ANC and she's HIV negative. ANC is antenatal care. And then when she comes for a retest after 3 months, she's HIV positive. So we are seeing increasing trends in that dimension as well. And so it's really critical for us now to hone in to see how we can arrest the situation and change the tide.
So Dr. Hilda, the ones who are positive and stop taking their treatment, is it that they are tired? Is it just negligence? I don't think it's a lack of information, because by the time they are taking their medication, they know that they are at risk of transmitting HIV to their children, to their unborn baby. So what's the information there?
Okay, great question, Rachel. And it's unfortunate that we are still having to face this dilemma in the era of HIV at this stage. So we actually have observed that a number of mothers sometimes start treatment without disclosing to their partners about their HIV status. So because a number of them test and find out that they're HIV positive, if they haven't disclosed to their partner, there are high chances that they won't be able to take their medication regularly on a daily. And
Mama,
so,
what if he's the one who gave it to you?
yes, if you haven't disclosed,
If you haven't disclosed,
Then you have a problem.
if you haven't
you may be the one.
if you haven't disclosed to him, then the support system around you won't be as strong. Because imagine having to take a tablet every day for the rest of your life. You really need to have a support system around you, someone to remind you about tablets. Look at even a simple illness like malaria. Sometimes I'm a medical person myself, but I'll be very honest with you that sometimes when I've had to, either if I don't put a timer in the phone or something, I'll forget to take my third dose on the,
the final dose,
the third
Even
day
just
or
pregnancy
something.
in itself.
Even pregnancy.
Remember those
So-
vitamins you have to take.
Exactly.
Folic acid,
And on top
Simanyiwa.
of-
Just being
exactly.
pregnant,
Even
just,
pregnancy
just
itself.
anything, ingesting
Thank
anything
you.
additional. You
Yes.
can just be like, I'm just done.
I'm so done. There are so many tablets to take for your immunity. There are others to help you boost your iron, just like you said. So there are quite many things that you're handling. Your body is going through hormonal changes. You want to eat insenenes, and insenenes are not in season.
Your man to drive to Masaka.
Exactly.
The baby wants to
I'll
send
share
it.
with you something small. When I was pregnant with my son, my first son, I had such a craving for senene.
grasshoppers,
It was the
really?
only thing I wanted to eat. I actually got to a stage where a lady in a Casero market is the one who had to store a number of them for me. So I had this craving where the only thing I wanted was senene. So being
Was
pregnant,
it in the right season, I hope?
they were even out of season. You know how pregnancy runs over 9 months. So so the pregnancy is a state where you're dealing with so many things. Having a strong support system around you and disclosing to your partner or a person you're living with is the first step in trying to, one, accept your situation, and then it helps you avoid the pitfall of feeling lonely and getting tired of taking tablets every day, and so you have a reminder from somebody about swallowing your medication. And then for others, there's a myriad of factors, but others also come from the social cultural situations around us. Economically, a number of women, especially in the rural communities, may not be as empowered to have the transport to come back every month to the health facility. Currently, the guidelines from Ministry of Health encourage pregnant women to come to the facility at least 8 times during that time when they are pregnant. That actually literally means once every month. Looking back at the economy we are in now, you and I can attest to the fact that it's not very easy. And so we have some mothers who might face challenges and they're not able to ask their husbands for transport for reasons which are very clear, and so then they might miss out on treatment.
So the ones who started nga they are negative and they became positive.
Exactly.
That one is testing.
Nga their
Find out
husband as
I see where you're
I think those
going.
men, and they do, like when women are pregnant, she's not feeling like she wants to give some, or if she used to give 100 times, she now gives like 3.
And it's been shown
It's
that
During
men
pregnancy.
tend to step outside of their homes a lot when their wives are pregnant. Yeah, they can come back with anything.
Yeah. And so that's how she
And
goes.
so-
Comes the first time, she's negative, and then the
next
second
time,
time, she's positive.
She's positive.
Ah, but I've been to, you go to antenatal, nga women are quarreling, cutting now the HIV test.
I know.
Like, because you think that all is well, and then only to reach there and wow.
Forgive my ignorance. Is it now mandatory for pregnant women to do an HIV test? At the time I was pregnant, it wasn't.
It wasn't.
I don't know, is it
We
now?
encourage all the mothers to test as long as you're pregnant.
You just encourage.
So we encourage them, and we've asked, there've been situations where a mother outrightly tells you, I'm not ready to test today. So you can't deny her a service for antenatal just because she's not ready. But what we are working with is supporting the counselors and the counseling teams within the health facilities or out in the communities to continue reaching out to them. You know, we are all humans, and many times when something is said once or twice or the third time, then it sinks in, and when you have someone else encourage you, it's easier to think about it a bit more often and then make a decision, because you literally can't force people to test. Yes.
But the guy that I visited throughout my pregnancies made it mandatory because he wants to know how to deal with you. He wants to know. So for them, it's mandatory. Like if you're going for those tests, that test has to be included so that they know how to manage.
It's on a facility by facility basis.
Probably.
Because even me, I remember ours was mildly, it was like we all knew you had to,
like,
if you can.
It was mandatory.
Even yours was mandatory. Yeah, because I remember
mine was like, they'll send you to the lab and it's a must that you're going to take that test. Yeah.
And I think even with the awareness that has happened now, most mothers actually expect it. You'll be surprised.
Yes.
But I've been out to rural health facilities, out in Ibanda, Ishongororo, deep down in the communities, where mothers come and line up and they are waiting to have a test. They are pregnant and they know they have to have a test. So I think the country has actually made great strides in communicating the awareness about getting to know your status when you're HIV positive or sexually active.
I also guess that's why they're encouraging many, even in the rural areas, to go and visit a hospital and not go to these rural traditional birth attendants, because that's where now the risk gets higher.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. Doctor, what can be done to prevent mother-to-child transmission, especially during pregnancy?
Okay, thank you very much for that great question. And so we encourage any sexually active lady, once you miss your menstrual periods, we encourage you to go to a health facility and have, so once you confirm that you're pregnant, we encourage you to start attending antenatal care as early as possible. Usually within the first 3 months, you should have been able to go to a health facility. So when you come to a health facility for your routine antenatal care, the standard guidelines now recommend that we'll do 3 tests as far as your status is concerned. We'll usually do an HIV test, which is almost mandatory, I would say, for many of the ones who have made a journey over the last season and getting pregnant. You know that we are doing a lot of HIV testing. But then we are also including a test for syphilis and a test for hepatitis B. Because all these can be transmitted from the mother to the child during pregnancy. So if you find that you're going back to HIV, if your test for HIV is positive, just like we've been sharing, there's good news. It's the beginning of a new life. So I wouldn't want to say that it's the end of the story for any of us out there. But then we encourage you to continue with the counseling session and then start on treatment. Once you start treatment, it's very, very important that you have your treatment daily, making sure that you swallow the tablet that has been prescribed on a daily basis. Like we said earlier, a pregnancy state has a lot of things happening. You don't feel like eating sometimes. You're sleepy more often than not. You're not your usual self. So there's a lot that's happening. But when you start treatment, as soon as you're tested and you're positive, then you have to make sure that you adhere to the treatment. So after you find your status as positive as a pregnant mother or a breastfeeding mother, then you're encouraged to have a viral load test, and this is done every 3 months. The viral load test is done for us to measure how much virus is circulating in your body. Because every time you have high viral load, so as we call it, then there are chances of transmitting HIV from your body to the baby are very high. And I also want to
And
emphasize
that's even
here,
if you're on treatment?
yes, but that usually if you have high viral load, then there's usually something it's telling us. Either you're not adhering to your treatment, you're not taking your treatment as you should.
Oh, yeah.
You most probably had a window where you missed some doses or you didn't take your medication. But usually if you started the regimen that we're using currently, it has very good suppression rates. If you're taking it on a daily, the chances that you have a viral blip are very, very few.
Okay,
so you're encouraged to take your medication daily, have a viral load test every 3 months, because then that helps us make sure that we keep a mark on your viral load and keep it as low as possible. And I'd also want to add that it's not only pregnancy that we're talking about. You're supposed to, there are some mothers who come in late and will do the test for the first time during the time they are going for delivery, or even for those who are breastfeeding. Remember, there are mothers who are bringing children for breastfeeding, mothers who've had births out of the health facility.
So we have for immunization.
Exactly, yes. So we are also using that window to capture mothers who might have given birth out of the facilities, and encouraging them to giving them the right information to help them make informed choices about testing for HIV at that point, because transmission also happens during breastfeeding if the mother is not on treatment or if the infant is not on treatment.
Oh, wow.
And then I also want to highlight that we are encouraging exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months of life. Usually as long as the mother is on treatment and the infant, the child is given, there's a medication, a syrup that we give from birth until 6 weeks, as we have tests done along the way.
So to check if there might have been a transmission anyway. Wow.
It actually then brings me to another part of this discussion. How do you actually know that PMTCT has worked? So we have to, as we have indicated that we want to prevent infection from the mother to the child. How do you know that has actually worked? So as a program, we have an aim to make sure that the child who's been born to an HIV positive mother has usually at least 4 tests by the time they're 18 months. So the first test is done at an age of about 6 weeks, between 6 to 8 weeks. We do a first DNA PCR. That's what it's called. Don't worry about the detail of the name.
They have not
we
to
do a test.
Yeah,
we do a test to see if the child has been infected. And if the test is negative, then we'll have to do another test later on. Remember, the mother is continuing to breastfeed as long as she's taking her treatment. So if the baby is born from the time the baby is born to about 6 weeks of age, we give the child a syrup called nevirapine, and this protects our little baby. If the mother is a high-risk mother refers to a mother who tested late during maybe labor and delivery, and there's most chances that virus is very high during that period. That's a high-risk mother. Then that syrup that we give our little baby has to go on for 12 weeks. So we don't do just the 6 weeks. We do the syrup up to 12 weeks. So the first test, going back to the test for the baby, it's at 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks. Then you do another test down the road at 9 months. Then depending on how long the mother has decided to breastfeed, we have to do another test 6 weeks after cessation of breastfeeding. So if I decide to breastfeed up to 11 months,
at 17
6 weeks after that point,
6 weeks.
my little baby needs to have another PCR test. So we go down the journey and up to the time when the baby is 18 months.
Wow.
At 18 months, we then do a rapid test. And so the test at 18 months is the one that usually helps us make a decision on whether the baby is positive or negative. Wow. So usually the baby if a baby is negative at that point by 18 months, then that means the journey for PMTCT has actually been successful. But if along the way, either the first test at 6 weeks or later on with the subsequent tests, the test is positive, then immediately we encourage the mother to have the baby start on antiretroviral treatment. So we are also doing same-day initiation and treatment for the babies who turn positive. And the earlier they start treatment, the better the outcomes for them.
Sure.
So it's as urgent as urgent. Yes,
Actually, what I wanted to ask you, is there a mode of delivery that is riskier in the transmission of delivery of a child between vaginal birth and cesarean birth that is more risky for the transmission of mother to child?
And I guess how do they manage the risk?
Yeah, how do you manage it in
either option?
Thank you very much. Yeah, that's a great question. There's been a lot of discussion around this, and with the advent in medicine and the current drugs that we're using now, to be honest, it's very, very safe to have a normal delivery as long as a mother who is HIV positive is taking her treatment on a daily. Many years back, when people didn't have access to treatment, or treatment was still for very rich people who could go out and send drugs from abroad, and many people didn't have treatment, a number of people were opting not to have a normal vaginal delivery and rather go for a cesarean section, which can be done and have the baby delivered. But that's decades back. Now with the advent of the therapy that we're using, that's very, very potent as far as reducing transmission is concerned. Normal deliveries are as good as any other mode of delivery you'd have. And we actually encourage mothers who are positive to visit a health facility and have the delivery done or supervised by a trained professional. Because then all the pieces around using gloves and making sure that the mother is doesn't go through prolonged labor, because there are other factors around labor and delivery that could predispose or put the child at risk. So for one who doesn't come to a health facility and goes to a traditional birth attendant or a grandmother, there might be some things which might happen there that you're not able to take charge of. But when you're in a health facility, then you're very sure that if anything happens, a prolonged labor of sorts, or an eventful thing that you hadn't planned for, a twist can happen in any delivery, then you already have professional people around you who will confidently manage and make sure that
Actually, I wanted to ask about breastfeeding, because you said, first of all, the fact is there can be transmission
during
at the point of
period.
breastfeeding period. So if I have my money, can I decide, since it is risky, let me go and get formula. Let me just leave the baby and ensure that the baby is fine. So that this was when they call 18 months. You're just like, just but and yet,
just to put your child at less risk. I could see how a mother would choose that alternative.
Yes, and I think many of us as mothers, if you were in that place, many of us would be.
For sure, I think I would.
In that
I don't think I would take the risk.
I know,
exposing
but then I go in 18 months, 6 months,
keep
6
thinking,
weeks.
but why would I breastfeed?
I would sacrifice the advantages and benefits of breastfeeding for as long as I knew I'm not exposing my child. Personally, that would be a choice I would make. But maybe speak to me. Speak to me.
No, and I'm speaking to myself as well. As a mother, as someone who's been there, I really relate to what you're sharing. But there's a lot of evidence that shows that the benefits of breastfeeding far outweigh the risks of other types of feeds. There are a lot of nutrients and other support food, I'll call them support feeds, that come from breast milk that are not going to be found anywhere else. There are some things which are just naturally made, they were made for a purpose and a reason. And there's a lot of, there are components of the immunity for the baby that are needed that will only come through the natural breast milk.
I think that's the part that would sell me. Yes. Because remember, I think for me, okay, this whole thing of breastfeeding, then the bond and whatever, I think the thing that gets me the most about breastfeeding is immunity. Like child's immunity, and it's tested, it's tried, tested, approved, like we cannot even pretend about it. So because remember, I'm already, my immunity is compromised as an HIV positive mom. So I'd always want for my child to have the best immunity, you know? So for me, I feel like that would be my selling point, that you know there is a fact about immunity that you're helping your child with. So I think that would be the only reason.
The key is for the mom to take her.
As long as, so then I should
that's the key. Just be vigilant, take your medication, and it should be well. But the other thing that's disturbing me about that area of exclusive breastfeeding is you have a mom, she's HIV positive. Let's say it has just happened. She's struggling with breast milk. And I mean, HIV negative moms struggle with breast milk. Now she's HIV positive and added stress. Maybe it even came during the pregnancy, and then she's finding out her husband or she's the one who meandered. But she didn't know the father. Anyway, I digress.
The DNA test.
Now she's worried. The baby has come out. It's looking like the neighbor. Anyway, but that's not the question. But you see where we are. But anyway, that said, she's struggling with breast milk, and yet she's being told to do exclusive breastfeeding. Is there something about the exclusivity?
Yes, and I think it goes back to what we're just saying about the immunity. There's a lot of benefits that come from the breast milk that can't be replaced by anything else. The good things that, like we've shared, there's a whole world of information around us these days. So if she's stressed, she can go to get support from a health facility. We have numbers now, toll-free numbers that can be called for support, for counseling. She can tune in and get information from the bump lab lady. Yes, so I would encourage
information to that effect.
Yes, I would encourage that whoever is out there and is going through that should reach out to one of us and get help. But please breastfeed my little baby until the baby is at least 6 months exclusively, as long as you're taking your medication and taking it correctly. And we have the baby on medication as well. Remember, there's a syrup that goes from birth till 6 weeks. And then after 6 weeks is actually another one. It's we call it prophylaxis. It's Septrin. And we usually give it to the baby from 6 weeks until 18 months, and if the baby is negative, we take it off from the baby, and it prevents, it keeps the baby healthy and prevents the common bacterial infections from happening. It also has a prophylactic cover for malaria. So so there's a lot of information out there that's very helpful.
So can I give that syrup to my normal child and you put in malaria? It gives you say, a cover against malaria. So can I purchase that syrup?
But I would recommend that at the moment we have that discussion in another environment. Because at the moment the guidelines for the HIV exposed infants who are still on the journey with the breastfeeding. So we keep them on a cover. In relation to the 18 months, it's very, very critical that once mothers have started the journey and are taking treatment every day, we get to the 18-month point. Because remember, that's almost like, I would want to say the finish line. Unless you get there and do the rapid test, then we are not sure if PMTCT has worked. So along the way, if the baby seroconverts, if the baby becomes positive, as we said, that one quickly, same day, we want to start treatment. So we have to continue the journey slowly up to the 18 months finish line, and then we'll be able to confidently say that PMTCT has worked.
And where would a child turn positive? Now you've gone through all
you know, right? I know. Yes. It's an interesting journey, and a good support system around any mother going through that is really, really critical to make sure that they are not able to give up at one point, at any point, as you can imagine.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I think Rachel's question was answered. Yeah, it was answered.
I moved on a long time ago.
It was answered.
So
Actually, but
well.
I want to ask a question maybe to the ladies. And I think we got a bump lover who asked us a question of sorts. But maybe I'll give it to the flow. How would you go about if you were pregnant and you found yourself to be HIV positive and you were sure you had not stepped outside? How would that conversation with your husband go?
I like that question.
Actually,
We're
say
not
partner.
asking, partner.
Could be, might not.
Partner, yeah,
might
you're
not be the
the
husband.
father of the child. So the person with whom you are in, you're faithful. You're
Yes,
faithful. Yeah, and the arrangement in your relationship, whatever it is of exclusivity. Yeah. So it's a one man, one woman relationship. Yeah. How would that discussion go in your households?
Pumla likes trouble.
I'm happy to
prepare for this.
I'm happy to
And I know
hear.
she comes from a medical profession,
Where-
and I think they have a counseling of sorts. But I want to hear from you
Call
guys.
me that one. I tell him that doctor is looking for us. We have to do, these days Ministry of Health has said things are what? They have to happen. I tell they happen for two.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we go.
So we have to go.
That is Manuela's version.
That's wisdom. I have a feeling I might borrow this idea because I was thinking,
What were you thinking?
babe, I just tested and I am positive.
What one?
Where were you?
What's happening? Certainly not me. What is going on?
Okay.
Yeah, that honestly, for me, that's the first thing that came to my mind. But clearly, we need wisdom.
Okay.
I feel like I would ask the same question. I would just go and ask him. I tested and I know I've been faithful, so what's going on?
Call him. I've also been faithful.
Well, it doesn't seem like the results are...
You are the one who was positive.
And then you
So
go
you,
and-
where have you been?
And then you go
Over there. Where have you been?
And
The woman has been cheating on me.
And why I'm asking is because this could escalate. Me personally, I think I'll just go and tell him, you know what, the truth is we've tested and I have become positive.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying that you stepped outside. I'm just saying anything could have happened within me, though I know nothing. Because there's so many different ways
You can get
to contract
HIV,
the
yes.
HIV.
Yes.
So I was like, let's go and both test. Now the struggle comes when you are 100% sure you are faithful.
Yes.
And then maybe you're just a discordant couple. But can he give you when he's not? When he's
No.
not? Okay. So
That clearly
he has
actually
to
shows
show
that you had...
It's
another-
you.
You're
It's
the
you
one,
are
you are
the
the
problem.
problem.
Okay. So
So
that
you
scenario
had
wouldn't
HIV
come.
before you entered the relationship? Is that what you're saying?
And then maybe I'll
Like
also
if you
just want
find
to
him
remind-
negative
Yes.
and you
Okay,
are
so then that's a separate conversation.
I would
It
also
doesn't
want to
apply.
remind us
So maybe
that,
help us.
remember, while we are really focusing on the sexual transmission,
Yeah.
as far as HIV is concerned, there are still a number of other medical reasons that we are aware about that can cause you to get HIV. If you were unwell and had a blood transfusion and the blood maybe hadn't been screened properly.
Oh God.
You might have, there are chances, but they are very minimal these days.
Okay.
Because what the country has done as far as quality
files,
assurance in many of our testing facilities, we all know what has been happening with DNA and how the ministry actually even sent out a list of the accredited places where you can go to. So there's a lot of work that the Ministry of Health has done to make sure that if it's blood, you're getting clean blood or blood that has been screened and is only right for transmission. I just thought I would throw it in for us to remember that just because you are very faithful and he's very faithful, then you might not be able to explain the part about where it's coming from. Although you're very right, the largest the major way of transmission is sexual transmission.
But I actually remember growing up,
Those were some intriguing stories on AIDS and
Yeah.
within the marriage facility where they would go and check the husband several times and he's positive and the woman is negative. Or the
Vice versa.
Yeah.
Reverse could be true.
I would be like, how? Like, just how is this happening?
Yes, I would want to say that even in the medical field, the cause is exactly not known, but discordant couples are actually there. You have one partner who is negative and one who is positive. And then just going back to our storyline, you just reminded me about the places where a mother passed on transmission, passed on the HIV from her body to her child. We are now having very many young children who've lived through the process of PMTCT.
It was successful?
It wasn't successful.
wasn't?
All their mothers were not aware about PMTCT. And so they've been born with HIV and have grown into 16-year-old girls, 17, 20. So some of them are actually get to a place where they're sexually active, or they start seeing boys and men, and they are positive, and they never knew that they were positive because transmission happened from the mother. What we've seen in a number of our clinics where we've been seeing these children is that every time they're unwell, when they take them to a health facility, their parents tell them, no, we found that you're unwell, but maybe you have malaria. Yeah. So they actually don't disclose and tell them that what we are dealing with here is not malaria. Yeah. So yes, we've had children who are born and they get unwell at certain points in their lives, but when they go and get treatment or seek health care, the information that the parents give them doesn't relate to the underlying.
I actually know someone like that. They were told that they were sicklers and they had to take a pill every day. And it was in that era when they were taking many pills every single day. And the boy was only told at the university.
Exactly.
Because now in their minds, he's going to become sexually active.
Yes. So as parents, some of them have found it very hard to disclose to their children and not sure what to do. So they actually get the treatment, and the child is on treatment all his life, but he knows it's multivitamins. I have children where one of them is 8 years and have been doing multivitamins almost all their life. So imagine if it's any other child in a neighborhood who knows that my daughter is taking a multivitamin, he's also doing the same. It's hard unless you've been disclosed to, or you have reason as an individual to go and have that test. And that will usually happen maybe when they're at secondary school, when they'll be able to go out, but by that time, many of them are already sexually active. Yeah. So yes, you can actually find yourself in a relationship where your husband is negative, going back to where we started, and you're positive and you didn't know about it.
Oh, wow.
You mean it's legal anywhere in the world to hide the truth of a child's status from them? The same way I would like to bring this back to how the law, if you know your status and you go ahead to have sexual intercourse with somebody without disclosing your status, it's criminal. Yeah. So I would believe that this should be criminal as well for a parent not to disclose to their child, and this is a child who's maybe of sexual active age, with or without. There should be a law there so that you, the medical practitioner, are obligated to share this information, like to put a mother and say, if you don't tell this child, I will
tell this child.
So thank you very much. That's a very great situation. I think one that we relate to a lot in the medical world, and especially in the space where many of the issues we deal with are under the confidentiality space. Yes, you get to a place where the best you can do is keep encouraging the parent to disclose to the child and sharing with them the benefits around the importance of this disclosure and how capable and how helpful it would be for the child to get to know their status. But you and I know even about laws in different places. The laws are only as good as those who will be able to follow them. And even if there was a law, I think it comes to a place where at the end of the day, it goes back to the family level, the individual level. You as a mother, you as a child, you as a father, even when there are laws out there about parental support. We've had many situations where this falls through the cracks. So
Oh, yeah.
Is there an appropriate age to tell a child?
Yes, that's a great one as well. So we've usually had, originally we had an age limit at which it was advised to share the information as far as these children are concerned, as far as HIV is concerned. We had gotten to a stage where we had set a particular age, but over time, over the last 10, 15 years or so, we've gotten to a place where even children as young as 10, as long as both parents have consented and you have the support of a counselor, you're in an environment that is safe, you're allowed and encouraged to go ahead and tell the child as far as the HIV status is concerned.
I like that you talk about a counselor, because I can imagine the child's reaction
And questions.
and the questions to their new reality and what they are finding out. They're going to be sick for the rest of their lives, and guess what? It came from mommy.
Mommy.
You know what that could do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anger.
And it's probably why many moms are holding back. So maybe you could speak
Exactly.
into that.
Yes, I think I wouldn't say I have an answer, actually. I would just want to share maybe some of the experiences that I've had from some of the mothers. And I had a time when I was supporting the HIV clinic for children at Mildmay at some point in my life. And I think that was one of the places in my medical career where I would get to a safe space and break down. Because some of the stories there were very, very moving. A mother would come to you and say, I'm not even sure how I'm going to do this. Can you help me? Can you help me? I've tried once, twice, and I don't think I can do it. And so that is actually, for a mother in such a space, they've already done a large part of the work. They're already in a health facility. So at least we had a lot of counselors around. Mildmay was very child focused as far as children coming in for treatment was concerned. So there's a large number of counselors, and so it was a place where counseling was done easily, and we had a number of mothers being supported to disclose. But think about a mother out there in a community, out there, out of Kampala, and what they would be going through as a dependent. They don't have a job, they're a stay-home mom. They found out that they're HIV positive, and they have this child who is growing up by the day, and they need to get information out to the baby. So I wouldn't say that have a magic bullet answer to it, but I agree with you. It's not an easy space to be in, but we've seen several mothers and fathers work through that phase, and I'll confidently say that it is possible. Yes. In the beginning, some of the children fold in and they are angry and upset, and they have all these questions about why me, but slowly and surely they pull through, because life is about phases. There are phases where many of them, go through that bottom pit, I would say, and then live through. And we now have a lot of success stories as far as children who are born with HIV is concerned. I think you've had
They've come out
around the young patients and the girls who are doing the shows as far as their journeys are concerned. So some of them, and those who know their status early,
getting married
start
and getting children.
Exactly.
Yes.
And then the cycle begins again.
And then she has to protect her baby.
She has to protect the baby, and it comes back to PMTCT.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, Dr. Hilda. Thank you. So, sometimes when we're having conversations like this, you can imagine, you can be scared, will we enjoy? But we truly, yes, because we like making noise. So when a serious topic comes, we're like, you guys, how will we manage? But thank you so much for making this conversation palatable for us to be able to take in and to learn from. And to our viewers, one of the gravest roles we have as mothers is to nurture and protect our children. The worst thing that you could ever go through is have to transmit HIV/AIDS or any disease to your child. And so we are calling on you right now. Go, get tested. Get tested.
You might get the disease, you might get the virus, but don't spread it to your baby. Remember, if you want to find out more, you can go onto the hashtag tested, trusted, and approved. Remember, real cool is knowing your status. Actually, yes, we know ours. If you don't know yours, actually, just go to the previous episode and you'll find that we did our own testing, and so we know our status. And if you've listened into this conversation and you really need to speak to someone, Dr. Ezzy is on call for you. Look at all the numbers on the screen right now so that you can contact him. While we celebrate our knowledge of our status, we want to celebrate our partners, Zuri Luxury, for our hair, fashion episode for our clothes, and shoe puzzle for our shoes. Thank you so much for trusting in us and partnering with us. For the rest of us, until next time, with love from Kampala.